So you got back to Duke, started as GA, got moved over to an assistant coach, and then you guys were in the midst of that like amazing run. I think it was 5 straight Final Fours, late '80s, early '90s. What do you think were some of the major contributors to having that kind of sustained success that you don't really see in college basketball?
Yeah, one thing that really always was very helpful for us, and I don't know how Coach, goes about it anymore or as much. I know some of it, but he was a big believer in not overdoing things early with us in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were always a little fresher down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it's underrated, and it's something to look at and understand a little bit more. Like we didn't have a whole lot of, we played and we lifted, and we had to do the mile run.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a whole lot of, hey, we had to do all this track work and, stadiums and, there's something to be said for that. Like we stayed pretty, fresh injury wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then he always, we wanted guys to make sure that down the stretch, we were as good as we could be mentally and physically. And then, you got to be a little lucky to have that kind of run.
Yeah,
there's a reason most people don't do it. You got to be lucky too. You got to be good and lucky. And we were both. But I just thought that his strategy and his philosophy of not wanting to overdo things with guys early, that it allowed us to have, confidence late. We were lucky in moments that we had to win games and last second shots and so on and so forth, Leitner and different guys. But we honestly felt like we were confident and we were fresh down the stretch.
Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier about that UNLV game in 1990. Biggest loss in final. Well, I think Villanova eclipsed that in the Final Four for us. So
okay, good.
We're second worst now.
we're off the hook now,
right? But yeah, then next season, 91, you come back, bring back a lot of the same guys, play that same team, and win. But it's not the championship game. It's the semifinal game. What is it like having, gone through that loss and then coming back and avenging it in a really tough game, and then having to flip the switch and say, okay, no, we got one more thing to do?
Yeah. The couple of things with that, Andre. One of the things, we lost in 1990. And then, which I always say, we didn't win a national championship until Grant Hill showed up.
Yeah. So, Grant helps.
I tell people all the time, I say, we went to all the Final Fours and all that. I said, but until the big fella arrived, I said, shit changed after that. So with Grant and Tony Lang were two, 6'8", athletic bookends, changed things for us. They really did. Those guys could just guard anybody. We literally have, Grant could guard anybody from 5'10" to 6'10". And he had to various times. And Tony Lang was another, young guy, young Colt, that gave us another, athletic forward front line, player that we could have. It made a big difference, when those two guys arrived. Yeah. And particularly Grant, of course. And then that game you mentioned. So we lose in 90, we get trounced by Vegas. They win the championship. I was out in Denver. We come back. Grant's a freshman. We have a team that goes on. We have a good year, obviously. Final Four. Bobby's still there. Late. We had some high level guys, of course, great players.
Yeah.
All-time great players. But we add Grant Hill to that. That there's that's a major influx of a unique, special, multi-dimensional, the most talented guy to maybe ever play at Duke.
Yeah.
And so he arrives and it changes everything for our team. Tony Lang's there, another undervalued, underrated, piece to the puzzle for our team as we grew. But then that game in the semifinals against Vegas, and we win it. And if you ever see some of the clips of that, when that game is, over and they missed the last three trying to tie it, and we win, there's this eruption of celebration. And it's, and if you ever see clips of the end of that game, guys are jumping around, hugging, and coaches walking out on the floor, like putting his hands that he's not like, he's putting like, settle down. Like he's already, as you know how he is, he's already thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
And he's one of our guys. And I'll tell you this, and maybe you know this, and if you don't, it's just another piece of why we were able to win, that championship. You play those semifinal games on Saturday, you have practice on Sunday, and the national championship game is on Monday. Well, we're getting on the bus for the practice on Sunday, and guys are, going to the hotels, all Duke people, and it's chaotic. It's what it should be, but it's all fun, all great. But we're getting on the bus, and he absolutely gets so upset because he recognizes, and he was looking for it too. That's how brilliant he is. Yeah. He was looking for guys to be different. Now he's seeing guys, coming on with, hats different. And he ripped the guys on the bus, told them to get off the bus, go back in the hotel. And because they were still wallowing in the game that we had just won the day before. And he knew, like, it's almost like if you think of the Miracle on Ice, the 1980 United States hockey team, we beat beat the Russians, and that was the greatest win. And everybody thought that was the gold medal game. It wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
You still have to come back the next day and beat Finland.
Right.
Well, we were in the same situation. We had just knocked off, a team that won the championship the year before and was undefeated all the way through up until we beat them, and they beat us by 30 the year before. And this whole season that they came back, they didn't lose a game all year. I still have a T-shirt that was being marketed and sold, UNLV 38-0 national champs, because they were already ready to have those things being said. And so I have one.
Yeah.
I still have one in my souvenir collection. That's cool. But we had to beat them. But coach recognized that we did beat them. But if we were just going to be happy with that one and not win the national championship coming up, a day later, and he told the guys to get off the bus, go back in the hotel, do what they need to do and make sure that they're ready when they get on the bus. They're ready to go get prepared to win a national championship. Yeah. And that set the tone for us to get removed from that great win and get ready for the upcoming challenge. And it's ironic because it was similar in the hockey thing when, you didn't ask me about hockey. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Yeah. When the hockey coach, the legendary coach, told the hockey team, that he used some language that I don't know if I can curse on here, but he used, after they won, they beat the Russians in the semifinals, and it was one of the greatest upsets in the history of the sport. Yeah. It's still talked about that. He goes in the locker room and says that if you don't win the next game, you'll take it to your fucking grave. Yeah. That was his post-game statement to those guys, because there was such euphoria that they had won that game. They'd beaten the all-time great team that was supposed to win it all, and it was Russia at that time. This was the Cold War, U.S. versus the USSR. Yeah. So a lot was being on the line anyway, but we were similar in that regard in our own smaller way, of course, but that's how coach viewed it. Yeah. We had done the unthinkable, but that unthinkable wasn't winning the national championship.